Breaking news! Things are boiling over in Miami, and what's happening right now within the Dolphins organization could shake up the entire season before it even starts. Behind closed doors, tensions have reached a fever pitch, and I'm not talking about just one player. I'm talking about a situation that could completely alter our defense and ruin any hopes of a Super Bowl berth if it's not resolved immediately. Think the Jalen Ramsey drama is just a bump in the road? Think again. What I'm about to detail isn't just about a star-missing minicamp. It's about a struggling front office, a losing locker room, and a fan base that's been left in the dark for far too long. The decisions that are being made, or worse, not made, are putting this team in serious jeopardy. Mike McDaniel wants to compete. The players want to compete. But how can they do that when Chris Greer, who somehow still has a job, keeps stalling on crucial moves? The Dolphins should be gearing up for a deep playoff run. Instead, we're watching the cornerback room fall apart while other teams circle like sharks, waiting to see if Miami misses another opportunity. And hey, before I reveal everything I've been hearing, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now, but only if you're a true Dolphins fan who refuses to accept mediocrity. If you've been following this team through thick and thin, through Marino and beyond, leave a comment saying, "Go Dolphins! My love is unconditional." Okay, let me tell you exactly what's going on with Jalen Ramsey, the disaster cornerback, and who might be walking through that door to try to save this mess. Let's talk about what's really happening with Jalen Ramsey. The situation has gone from bad to completely irreparable. Ian Rappaport confirmed what we've suspected for weeks. Ramsey is officially skipping the Dolphins' mandatory minicamp, which starts June 10th and runs through June 12th. It's not just a voluntary OTA snub anymore. This is a hardline stance. It's expected to be an excused absence, so the team won't fine him, but the message is crystal clear. Jalen Ramsey is done with Miami. Here's where things get really messy. Despite the clear writing on the wall, the Dolphins haven't been able to finalize a trade. We all thought June 1st was the deadline, and once that passed, Miami would move Ramsey and pocket the $9.9 million cap benefit. Instead, we're sitting here with $13.7 million in cap space, waiting on a move that's supposed to bump that up to $23.6 million. What's the holdup? That's the million-dollar question. No serious trade partners have emerged, and the window to make this happen before the league's annual off-season lull, when front offices go quiet, closes rapidly after minicamp. And it gets worse. With Ramsey out, the Dolphins' cornerback room is, bluntly, a disaster. Jalen Ramsey is officially off the team's depth chart. Without him, this secondary might be the weakest in the entire NFL. Kader Kohou, who's a solid nickel corner, is now being pushed into a starting outside role, which he's simply not suited for. Then we've got undrafted guys like Storm Duck and raw prospects like Cam Smith, facing quarterbacks like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. With this group, that's not just risky, it's reckless. The Dolphins need help fast. They've been linked heavily with Rasul Douglas, a veteran free agent who already visited team facilities a month ago. Miami made him an offer, which he rejected, probably because they're trying to be cheap while the Ramsey deal is unresolved. Once Ramsey is moved and the cap opens up, the Dolphins might up their offer and land Douglas. But let's not kid ourselves, Douglas isn't some elite savior. He was one of the worst coverage corners in the league last season with a QB rating allowed of 124.1. That's dangerously close to perfect. Yet Douglas might be a better scheme fit in Miami than he was in Buffalo. He's a zone corner, and under Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins run cover 2 and zone defense nearly 65% of the time. This could potentially help mask some of Douglas's weaknesses. His size and experience on the outside could let Kohou stay inside, where he thrives. That gives the Dolphins a chance to at least stabilize the position. And yes, there are other names floating around. Asante Samuel Jr. has been contacted by the Dolphins, although discussions won't really heat up until July due to his recovery from neck surgery. Greg Newsome and Jalen Watson are potential trade targets. But again, why haven't we made these moves yet? The front office seems paralyzed, either due to indecision or fear of spending, and both options are inexcusable when the window to win is now. Make no mistake, if this team misses the playoffs again, or even makes it and gets embarrassed, there's a real chance that McDaniel, Greer, and even Tua could be out by next year. The urgency couldn't be higher, and yet we're still dragging our feet on obvious decisions. Now, I want to hear from you. Should the Dolphins sign Rasul Douglas despite his flaws? Should we hold out hope for Asante Samuel Jr. in July? Is it time to move on from Jalen Ramsey and rebuild this secondary now rather than later? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Go Dolphins! We can still make the Super Bowl, but only if the front office finally wakes up. Because if the Dolphins don't move on this week, folks, we could be in for a long, frustrating summer. NFL front offices typically shut down for a few weeks after mandatory minicamp, taking a breather before returning in early July to ramp up for training camp. If the Ramsey deal doesn't get done now, we're staring at a possible deadlock until then. And let's be clear, any delay doesn't just stall cap flexibility, it prevents the Dolphins from reshaping a crumbling secondary before it's too late. You can't go into July without clarity, and you especially can't go into training camp without a viable cornerback plan. Look at the names in our CB room: Kader Kohou, Storm Duck, Cam Smith. This is a group built for preseason reps, not for battling the AFC's elite quarterbacks. Even the coaching staff knows it. They're not saying it publicly, but taking Ramsey off the depth chart was a loud admission. We've got nothing right now. It's not about disrespecting these young guys. It's about being real. This room can't handle a deep playoff push as it's currently constructed. So where does that leave Miami? Rasul Douglas, again, remains the most likely option in free agency. He's already familiar with the team's facilities, and despite rejecting the initial offer, the continued communication between both sides tells you there's still mutual interest. Once Ramsey is moved, don't be surprised if Douglas gets locked in quickly. Miami can then take a two-step approach, lock in the veteran now, and revisit other options like Asante Samuel Jr. in July, assuming his medical checks out. That would give Miami flexibility, a short-term veteran presence, and a long-term upside play. But let's not forget the trade market. Greg Newsome from the Browns could be a very interesting target. He's younger, athletic, and could thrive in this scheme. Jalen Watson from the Chiefs is another under-the-radar name. He's got length, speed, and is buried behind starters in Kansas City. A mid-round pick might get it done. These are the types of low-cost, high-upside moves the Dolphins must consider, especially with the increased cap room that trading Ramsey will free up. Now, imagine if Miami goes bold, moves Ramsey this week, signs Douglas, and follows that up with either a trade or a July signing of someone like Samuel Jr. that completely flips the narrative. Suddenly, you're walking into training camp with a CB room of Douglas, Kohou, back in the slot, possibly Asante or Newsome, and you let the rest battle for depth. That's a real plan. That gives McDaniel and this defense a fighting chance. But standing still? It's coaching malpractice. And I'll say this, Mike McDaniel and the staff can only do so much. They aren't the ones who missed on Cam Smith last year. That's on Greer. They're not the ones who waited too long to address the secondary in this offseason. Again, Greer. And yet, he's still here, somehow protected, even as this roster cracks at the edges. If this team fails this year, fans aren't just going to blame the players. The spotlight is already on the front office, and that light's only going to get hotter with every mistake. Here's where you come in. If you're tired of watching elite quarterbacks torch a soft Miami secondary every year, say something. If you're fed up with half measures and reactive moves, it's time to demand more. Let your voice be heard in the comments. Hit that like button if you want real change. Subscribe if you want daily coverage that cuts through the fluff. And as we push forward into this pivotal stretch, there's another element fans need to keep their eyes on: team chemistry. Jalen Ramsey's absence isn't just a personnel issue, it's a locker room one. This is a high-profile player essentially turning his back on the team during a mandatory minicamp. That sends a message not just to management, but to teammates. When a player of his stature decides it's not worth showing up, it plants seeds of doubt. It creates questions. Who's next? What happens if more veterans start to feel the team isn't serious about winning? This is exactly why resolution is urgent. The Dolphins need to show decisiveness, not just to fans, but to the players in that locker room. Guys like Javon Holland, Jaylon Phillips, and Bradley Chubb need to see the front office stepping up to build a real contender. Letting this Ramsey situation drag out tells the rest of the team that dysfunction is okay, and that is a dangerous precedent to set heading into training camp. And here's the truth: if the Dolphins can't